All right, boys and girls, this is our Chapter 5 review. In the first part, let me just get my marker here. Okay, in the first part it says, are the following expressed as a unit rate? And remember, unit rate must equal 1. So like 1 ounce, 1 pound, and so forth. It must be per 1, whatever the unit is. So let's go through these. Victor ate 3 apples in a day. So a day, or a day is 1. So yes, that is a unit rate. And you could just put Y or N. And make sure that what I'd like you to do is do these first and then pause the video, go back. I'm sorry. What I want you to do is start by doing the problems first, then watch, and then pause, then do the next problem, then pause, and so forth, and do the problems that way so you can see the answers and see how I do it, but I want you to try it first. All right, Nate reads 7 books in 9 weeks. 9 weeks is not 1, so that's no. Amanda paid $3 for a hamburger, so that's yes. Frodo Baggins paid $9 for a ring. That's yes, because it's 1 ring. Bilbo wrote 2 books in 3 years, and that's no, because it's not 1 year. Okay, so the next one says Gandalf conjures 235 spells in 5 hours, and it says how many does he make in a minute. Okay, so we gotta find the unit rate. So it says 235. Sorry, let me just stop that. Okay, so it says 235. I'll put S for spells over in 5 hours, or per 5 hours. So how many does he make in a minute? So that equals, I don't know how many he makes per 1 minute. Okay, so we have a little bit of an issue here. If you've noticed, our units are different, so we need to make them the same unit. So the way to make them into the same unit is to make them into the lower unit. So the 5 hours, we're going to make that into minutes. So I already know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour, so I multiply it by 5 hours, and I'm going to get 300. So I'm going to cross this out and put 300 M for minute. Also, we need to make minutes because the rate that we want is in minutes anyway. All right, so what do we need to do? Well, we need to make basically an equivalent fraction. So what do I need to do? I need to divide by 300 to get to 1. So I'm going to divide by 300, 235. So you'll get a decimal, and I told you that you're going to get a decimal here. For this test, you may use a calculator, as long as you set it up and show me appropriately. And if you do this correctly, you're going to get, and let me just erase this. You're going to get as an answer 0.783 or 783 thousandths. But what you need to do is round to the nearest hundredths. So I look at the 8, look at the 3. The 3 tells me that I need to drop off. So it's going to be 0.78 or 78 hundredths per minute is going to be your answer. Okay, next one. Harry Potter rides his new Firebolt 30 miles in 10 minutes. What is miles per hour? Okay, so a few things here. We have 30 miles per 10 minutes. Put MIN for minutes. Equals, we have to figure out how many miles per hour. So I don't know how many miles per 1 hour. Okay, so a few things. What I need to do is, you could do this several ways, but what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to convert this to 60 minutes. And then I could convert it back later. So I have to figure out, how did I get there? I times it by 6. I times this by 6, the miles, and I'm going to get 180. So it's 180 per 60 minutes, but we already know that 60 minutes is 1 hour. So the answer is going to be 180 miles per hour, MPH. Okay, next page. Okay, so Dumbledore buys 12.5 acres of land outside of Hogsmeade for 23,000 galleons. Now, if you don't know Harry Potter, or it's just galleons is like money. So if you remember in class, what's very important is I like to put money over, money comes first, money over whatever unit it is. So we have 23,000 and I'll put G for galleons, over 12.5 acres. And yes, you could have a decimal in a fraction. So this is gonna equal, how much does he pay per acre? So I don't know how many per 1 acre. So how did I get there? I divide by 12.5. So I need to divide 23,000 by 12.5. And if you do that correctly on your calculator, you're gonna get 1,840 galleons. Okay? Per acre. And you have to label it out completely. Next, Ron pours, let me shrink it down, 1.5 quarts of pumpkin juice per minute. How much does he pour in 2 hours? Okay, and then we have to convert. So he does 1.5 Q for quarts of pumpkin juice per 1 minute. That's going to equal, I don't know how many, per, and we have to do 2 hours. So you have to convert 2 hours into minutes. So that's going to be 120 minutes. Okay, so it'll be 60 times 2. So how do I get there? Times it by 120. So how do I get there? Times it by 120. Okay, so when you do the calculations, you're going to get 180 quarts per 2 hours I messed up here, per 2 hours. Okay, so we have to convert this to gallons. So you need to convert 180 to gallons. And if you remember, there's 4 quarts in a gallon, if you remember our gallon man. So what you're going to do, it's going to be divide by 4, so it'll be 45 gallons per every 2 hours. Okay, next, let me just delete this. Okay. All right, so this one, what I'd like you to do is actually make a chart. So it says to send a letter via owl, it costs 10 galleons. Remember, gallons is money. For the first 2 ounces, after that, it's 15 gallons per ounce. So if I make a chart, we're going to do G for galleons. Okay, and then ounces. I'll put OZ for ounces. So for the first 2 ounces, it costs 10 galleons. Okay, so what that means is this. So if it costs 1 ounce, it's 10 gallons. If it costs 2 ounces, it's 10 gallons. So after that, it goes up every galleon goes up 3. Every galleon goes up 15. So we're going to have 15 more. You're going to have 15 more, and so forth. All right, so if Ron does 13, there's a couple ways to do this. One way is to continue with our chart, or if you look at it, the first 2 are going to be 10. So if I subtract the first 2 from Ron, he has 11 left, 11 ounces. So if he has 11 ounces left, we're going to times that by 15. When you times that by 15, you're going to get 165. But you have to add in the 10 for the first 2 ounces, so that's going to be 175 G for galleons. Well, Harry's going to be 14 ounces, so you're just going to add another 15. Remember, it's just another 15 because of the additional ounce. So that's going to be 190 galleons. Okay, the tricky one's Percy. So Percy, he has 23 ounces. So let's subtract the first 2. So that'll be 10. And then if you subtract 2 ounces, you have 21 left. So you have to do 21 times 15. If you do 21 times 15, you get 315. And then you have to add in those 10 ounces from the first 2 ounces, or 10 galleons from the first 2 ounces. So it's going to be 325 gallons. Slughorn's the easy one. It's right here. It's 10 plus 15 because he has 3 ounces. So it'll be the first 2 is 10 plus 15 for an additional. So it's going to be 25 gallons. Okay, number 11, $1.23 for 3 apples. So what we need to figure out is how much is unit cost. So unit cost is always 1. So we have $1.23. Remember, money goes up top for 3 apples equals, I don't know how much for 1 apple. So you divide by 3, and it's going to be 41 cents per apple. And you could write it, the per out. That would be good. Okay, so 12 peaches cost $12.12. What is the unit cost for the peaches? So $12.12 for 12 P for peaches equals X. I don't know how much. over 1 peach. So divide by 12, you will get $1.01 per peach. Okay, let's see. Number 13, so we have 2 more to do. Number 13 says this: it takes Draco 53 seconds to run 200 meters. If he was running at constant speed, how long would it take him to run 1.2 kilometers? Okay, so a couple things. Let's start setting this up. So it takes 53 seconds to run 200 meters. Okay, so I like to put the meters on top. So it'd be 200 meters per 53 seconds equals, at constant speed, how long will it take him to run? So I don't know how long. So the X is going to go on the bottom to run 1.2 kilometers. Well, you should know 1.2 kilometers, we have to move the decimal over to get to meters. What you want to do is move the decimal to the right. So when I move the decimal to the right 3 spots, 1, 2, 3, and fill them with zeros, I get 1,200. So it'd be 1,200 meters. So all I have to do is this. How did I get there? I times it by 6. So you times 53 by 6. And let me just erase this. And when I do that, I get 318 seconds. But I don't like it like that. I want to put minutes and seconds. So you divide by 60 because there's 60 seconds in a minute. And you will get 5 minutes, 18 seconds. And that's all you need because it just says how long. That's an I there. Sorry about that. Okay, last one. Okay, so this one's a little tricky. It says Frodo, and there's several ways to this. So I'm just going to go over one way. Frodo traveled by eagle from the Shire to Rivendell and then back. So he went from the Shire to Rivendell and then back. So let's put S and R. All right. He traveled 2 hours and 15 minutes at 30 miles per hour to get to Rivendell. So it took him 2 hours and 15 minutes. So if I convert 15 minutes into a fraction or a decimal, 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. So I could do one of two things. I could make it into a decimal or I can make it into a fraction. I'm just going to make it into a decimal. So this is how long it takes him, 2.25 hours at 30 miles per hour. 30 miles per hour. Okay. Then he traveled back. So let's do another little chart. And he traveled back. He did a different route. It took 3 hours and 15 minutes at 25 miles per hour. So 15 minutes again is a quarter. So it's 3.25. And this is at 25 miles per hour. Okay. What was his average speed for the whole trip and how many miles did he travel and all? So the first thing is we need to figure out how many miles he did. So let me just move this up since we have everything we need. All right, so if I draw my model, our triangle, it's distance over speed times time. So distance over speed times time means that distance will equal speed times time because when I cover the D, I have S and T next. So distance equals speed times time. So for the first trip, it's 30. Distance will equal 30 times 2.25. And if you do 30 times 2.25, and you could use a calculator, you're going to get 67.5 miles. So the first one's 67.5 miles. Next, the second one is going to be, again, distance equals speed times time. So it'll be distance equals speed's 25 times 3.25. So it would be 25 times 3.25. I'm going to get 81.25 miles. So if I add those up, and let me just move this up again a little bit more. Oh. Okay, it won't let me, so I'm going to get a new page. So we have 67, 67.5, and 81.25. And if you add that up, you're going to get 148.75 miles. So that's our total miles, or total distance. So if you remember to do average speed, let's look back at our chart. We have D over ST. If I want average speed, I'm going to put my finger over the S. It's distance divided by time. So it's distance, total distance, which is 148.75 148.75 miles over total time. So if I go back and I look at my total time, I'm going to figure out it's 5.5 hours. Because if I add 2 hours and 2.25 hours and 3.25 hours, I get 5.5 hours. So what you need to do is divide, and you may use a calculator. So if I take 148.75 and divide that by 5.5, because again, remember, it's total distance divided by total time, I'm going to get 27 point, it's going to be a long decimal. It's going to be, I believe, a repeating decimal. You're going to get something that looks like this, 27 and 45 thousandths. So we need to round to the hundredth because I asked you to round to the hundredth. Go next door, 5 and above, give it a shove. So the final answer is going to be, it's not letting me move it up. I'll just write 27.05 or 5 hundredths mph, miles per hour.